would like to take you through how you can file for your employment income tax return in case you had worked for less than a year. That can be semi-annually, quarterly, or just partially, or some few months during the year, and you need to file for your income tax return. Here you got covered. What you're supposed to do, just get into the iTax portal, and after getting into the iTax portal, just sign in using your KRA pin. So my KRA pin is A015 403 007A. Then you need to hit continue. So you can come and ensure the TIN is correct. Then you just need to do a simple mathematical computation, which is giving me a value of 62. Then you need to log in. When you log in, you should be taken into this interface. You just need to come to here, we have return. Then choose file return. Then choose the tax obligation is the income tax resident individual in case you are resident, and then click next. So I have already filed my return, so I'll be doing like I am doing an amendment, but it will reach the information hole. You need to enter the return period, which is from 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025. Then you can either download the auto-populated ITR or use the normal Excel document. So in this scenario, I usually recommend calculating it manually so that I can be able to offer credit where it is due. You just download the normal Excel sheet which you usually use to file our return rather than the auto-populated form. So when I download this, I need to get back into my browser, to my file explorer. And after getting into my file explorer, what I need to do, you see the document which we have downloaded, just click above it. Then come to where we have property, click unblock, click apply, and then click OK. Then after that, you can extract the content of this document by just hitting extract, then coming here and choosing extract here. Then you need to come above this document, click above it, and choose to open it with Excel. So the reason why I have done that is to avoid macros when opening this document, because in some cases, this document fails to open in Microsoft Excel due to macros blockage. But you notice when I do this, the document opens automatically without a lot of problem. So what you need to do basically is how you usually file the normal returns, even when you have the income for the full year. So I just populate my KRA pin here, which is A015 403 007A. Then hit enter. Okay, let me enter it again. So it's A015 403 007A. Then I can hit enter. Then I need to enter the type of return, so it is original in your case, assuming you had not filed for the other period. So I need to enter the date, so it dates back from 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025. Then, in case you have any other income such as withholding, you can declare other incomes where you'll be able to open the P&L. But in this, we are focusing with employment income. So where we come to where we have employment income, this is where we need to enter some details. We need to enter the TIN of the employer. So the TIN is the KRA pin. So the TIN of the employer is here. So I can stop highlighting this and copy this figure here, which is the TIN of the employer. So I usually prefer copy pasting so that I avoid making some minute errors. So you need to enter the name of the employer. So the name of the employer, you can get it also in the PIN form. So let me get back to the PIN form and take the name of the employer, which is here. Then you need to copy it and populate it here. Then you need to take your gross pay. So your gross pay in this scenario, you need to do the summation of this total gross pay. So you add all these total gross pay, or your accountant will have added it for you, but you need to confirm if it covers the only period which you work. Like in this scenario, I worked up to the month of June. So I need to take this annuity of 42,600, which means I was receiving a constant amount. So I need to get into my calculator here. Let me get to where I have my calculator here. Calculator. I need to take this value of 42,600 and multiply it with 6. Then I'll get a value of 225,600. So get a value of 225,600. So I come and populate this value here of 225,600. So I didn't have any house allowance and benefit from employment other than car and housing. I didn't have it, so I put value 0. The net value of housing, I didn't have it, I put value 0. So don't leave them empty. So you see that the total employment income in my case is 255,600. Then what I need to do, I need now to shift gears to the sheet M. This is where we need to do the deduction. So at the sheet M, what I can do, I can use the drill down arrow and put the pin of the employer. I need to repeat the employer name, but it's so easy. We shall just copy it from where we had pasted it here and bring it into our Excel form here. And then we need to enter the taxable salary. So in different P9 form, this taxable salary is referred using different name. Like you can see in my case is referred as the chargeable pay. So I need to take this amount for 5 months and then add this, because I had an annuity from February to July, and then add this amount. So I can get back into my calculator and let me clear the calculator and take this amount of 38 to 33, 38 to 33, we multiply by 5, we add it to 38,629. 38,629. Give me a gross amount of 229,794, and this is the value which I need to come and populate it in the Excel sheet here. So you can notice that the taxable pay is less than what we had as the gross pay. So to get the tax payable on taxable salary, so in this case, what we usually do, we usually take the summation of the pay amount and the annual personal relief. So as you can see, also our pay was experiencing an annuity from February to June. So what I will do, these are 5 months, so I'll take this figure, which is here, and take it to my calculator here. I'll multiply it with 5 months. Then I'll add this amount here. And then get back to the calculator. So that is the amount of January, because we have taken the annuity. Then we add the amount of January, which was this amount, and giving us the value of the pay which we paid up to the month of June is 22,663.2. Then what I need to do, I need to get the annual personal relief which I had paid for that period. So it was constant, so I need to take this figure here And then when I take this figure, so this figure technically looks bigger because I was given affordable housing levy relief this year. So I need to come here and take my calculator again. So let me take my calc and add this figure and multiply it by 6 months. And multiply it by 6 months, getting 14,979. So that was the personal, the annual, the, let me call it the semi-annual personal relief. Then I need to add it with the value of pay which we had calculated for the semi-annual, which was 22,663.2. And the summation of these two usually give us the amount of the tax payable on the taxable salary. So it is this one. Then you need to come and populate it here. Then when you populate the amount of the payee amount here, let me show you the payee amount, the difference between this tax payable on the taxable salary and the payee amount, which is in our calculator. Let me show you where it is. This was the payee amount. This was the amount of payee, which is 22,663. So which is 22,663.2. The difference between this and this, it should give us the annual personal relief. It should give us the annual personal relief, and that is what we are getting to ensure we are correct. So from there now, we can go to the T computation, the raw sheet here. So you can notice I was given the annual personal relief as at full amount, but I had worked for less than a year. So I need to adjust this one to this figure which was here, which is 14. I can get it back to this M sheet to ensure we are doing everything right. So it is here. It is here under the M sheet, which is 14,976, 14,976, 14. It is the annual personal relief of 14,976. Then what you need to adjust again is the amount of the pension contribution. So the pension contribution, the amount which we had contributed to the scheme, you can be able to get it back from the P9 form. You can notice I had the row of 2160 and then the maximum of 25,556. So I'll take just this figure because it's also forming a constant amount. Then when I take this figure, I multiply it by 5 months. Then after multiply it by 5 months, then I add 2160, give me a value of 14,940. 14,940. 14,940. And then I put it there. So anything else to adjust is the amount of chief, which is here. Which we technically say, because we have the amount of shift here, it is for affordable housing, it is 1.5% of the gross pay. So as you know, our gross pay here, as per our income, was 255,600. So 255,600, we need to take the 5% of it. 1.5% of it. So just copy it and populate it in our calculator here. And then take multiplied by 0.05. 0.015, giving us a value of 31.8460. So just come here and give this value here. Let me come here and adjust that value in the P9 form here. So I'll just come here and adjust the value of the affordable housing levy, which is 1.5 of the gross pay. Then I need to come here and calculate the amount of SHA, which I need also to take the gross pay, which is here, and take the 2.75% of it. So I need to come here and calculate the 2.75% of this gross pay. So I need to take 2.75%, which is multiplied by 0.0275, giving me a value of 70.29. 70.29. Give me a value of 70.29. And after doing that, you can see I'm getting a tax credit of -14 here after doing everything correctly, which is tax refundable. So this tax refundable, in most scenarios, it will usually help us in some cases when you have defaulted to pay some tax. You can adjust them using this debit amount or credit value, which can be able to raise the. This is actually it is amount because KRA is the creditor. When you put it in KRA, it will be a debit amount to reduce your tax credit. But in your case, because you are a debtor, it is reducing, because when you put it to the debit side, in the credit side, it will be reducing your taxable salary. So I need to validate this sheet in case I'm good with what I have done for partial working. And after validating, we shall give a term. So in case you have any query regarding income tax, withholding tax, and any question related to tax, you can get me using the contact in the description at affordable fee, and we can agree on different terms and what you're supposed to do in case you are subjected with any tax scenario. So we should just give a time to validate this sheet, and it will give us a file which we need to upload into the iTax portal so that we can be able to validate and file our returns. So that is technically what we usually do in case you have worked for less than an year. So you can see when you download this sheet, you need to know where they are saved, the date and the time, so that you don't run into any mistake. Then you need to get into the iTax portal. You can come here, choose the file which you have downloaded, which is saved as the document, which is this one. Then after doing that, you can come here, choose do you have any, if no, choose no, then agree, and you can come and submit. So basically, because I was doing this video for demo purposes, this is what we usually do in case you are faced with that scenario. In case you have any query regarding withholding tax, withholding VAT, e-teams, and so on, you can reach me using the contact in the description or using my email, and we can have that conversation. So thank you for watching and have a nice day ahead.